One thing about COVID, and now that we're out and about, we're trying to get off of these, this unmute yourself. But I told some folks the other day, really, we don't need to keep saying you're muted. We need not to be muted, right? We need not to be muted. There's too much going on in the world for us right now to mute ourselves. And so I had to unmute myself and so I could start this program properly and say, welcome to another edition of Win TV. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer newspaper, and we thank you. I thank you for joining us today. I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. I always like to show uh, the real printed copy for to share with you all, our viewers. Yep, I got it right here. I hope you've had a chance to pick up an edition at your local newsstand. We have about 500 locations throughout the DMV. So I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy. But if not, you can read The Informer online at WashingtonInformer.com. Again, that's WashingtonInformer.com. And if you're watching on Facebook, please go ahead and hit share so your followers can see the broadcasts. We certainly want to have more viewers enjoying our program and our exciting guest. And if you're watching on Twitter, be sure to follow us and we'll follow you back. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. That's one word, no spaces, Washington Informer TV. That's where you can find us on YouTube, enjoy some of our past programs, and of course, watch us now. And most importantly, subscribe. So, we've been talking about what's going on in the news. We always like to kind of throw a few things out there that may or may not have been in the Informer print edition, but folks are talking about, and you can also read on our website. But Trump Plaza Hotel has been sold. I guess you all have heard that news, and will reopen as the Waldorf Astoria. Now, we don't have the price in here, but it was a big ticket sale, and there was a lot of controversy about foreign dignitaries coming to the hotel in order to seek favors from the president. Well, that chapter has closed, and the hotel has been sold, and so we can see what next happens to what many of us remember as the old post office down there on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. During the D.C. Council's budget approval hearing last Tuesday, they voted to stay the course with a decision that they voted on last year, and it was a unanimous decision last year to approve the removal of police officers out of D.C. public schools. Well, with the budget hearings this year, actually this Tuesday, the first of I think a series of two. They'll go back to the count. They'll go back at the end of the month and then send their proposals over to Congress for approval. But the unanimous decision has now been changed to a vote of 8-5 to gradually remove officers from DC public schools. It was a bone of contention among the council, and I'm sure that there's some parents and students out there that have may just be hearing this and am weighing in because, as Council Member Trayon White pointed out during the hearing, he was very, very distressed because of the uptick in violence that's been occurring this school year. It's been very tragic, and unless you're in the schools, you may not know what's going on. But as parents and students and teachers and administrators, they know. And there is a concern now that to take these officers out of the schools may not be the right decision, but we'll see what the council does. And I think it's May the 24th when they will look at this issue again, as well as several other issues that impact our local district residents. The big news continues to be the status of Roe versus Wade. And on Wednesday, the Senate rejected a motion to consider a bill that would keep abortion services in America legal. Again, there were a lot of twists and turns with regards to that issue. And there are some members, even on the Republican side, that may have voted in favor of the bill, but for and then there are numerous issues with that they could not support, and some Democrats as well as it relates to Roe v. Wade. It's a really, really big issue. Hopefully, we will have more conversation about that on Win TV, because what I think is missing, at least from our perspective, and we've written about it, Jamila. Um, um, one of our writers actually did a piece for Word in Black on the impact of Roe versus Wade on the Black community and Black women, Black families, and we need to have that conversation because I'm not hearing it, and we want to make sure the Informer includes our voices in this whole issue. Even Dr. Sherman, who we will have on earlier, has done some pieces that I think would be very interesting as it relates to abortion or the rights to abortion and the women's ability to choose as from a historical perspective. But we'll talk about that later. But please check out all of these stories and more at WashingtonInformer.com because it is our job to keep you informed. We want to again say congratulations to the 2022 graduates. Howard University's commencement was held last Saturday. They had to go indoors. The weather was awful, but it looked from afar, it looked like it was a fantastic ceremony with the guest speaker, Taraji Henson, who I think really inspired the students. And this weekend, as a matter of fact, tomorrow, the University of the District of Columbia will hold its ceremony at the Washington Convention Center with attorney Benjamin Crump, famed attorney Benjamin Crump, who has represented so many of our folks across the country, particularly as it relates to police-involved shootings and murders. Well, he will be delivering the keynote address. And so the Washington Informer will be there, and we will be covering that. So you can tune in, but also you can read it in next week's edition. So during May, we are recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month and Older Americans Month. Those are two really significant months. There are more. I could go down the list. There's a couple I really would like for us to talk about. Again, Asian and Pacific American Month. I'm just going to say this because it's not in the script, but I'm sure you know people, and I know people who look like you and me, but who are of Asian or Pacific American descent. There's mixed parenthood there, and the issues that they face, we don't ever think about. And I think this would be a good time to have that conversation with them. But today, we're focusing mostly on Mental Health Month because, again, no matter what you're going through, it impacts your psyche. And we want to make sure that people are strong enough to deal with the issues that we face. And so we will have several guests to talk about mental health issues. But first, we're going to talk to Selena Hill, who is a deputy digital editor for Black Enterprise. And anyone that's an owner of a business, at least back in the day, you always had a copy of Black Enterprise on that front desk or someplace near where your managers or your staff could reach it and hear about the successes of Black people doing business. And Black Enterprise is continuing to do that on the digital side. And Selena Hill is going to talk to us about an upcoming entrepreneur summit. So looking forward to hear those details. I mentioned earlier about Dr. Shantella Sherman, our special editions editor, who will be with us as well to talk about the Washington Informer's Health, Nutrition, and Wellness supplement that came out this week that actually does feature some valuable information for older Americans. We're also looking forward to talking to Asoniti Foster, who is trying to change the culture of mental health as it relates to Alzheimer's disease. And she will be joined by hypnotherapist Wanda Whitaker, who will share a few techniques we can use daily to improve our mental well-being. So not pressing commercials, but I need a little bit more than the Prevagen I've been taking to help me with mine. And I am not embarrassed to say that. We will close out today's show with Cassandra Hill, a speech language pathologist, educator, and storyteller who uses arts for learning in Maryland to and she'll talk about an opportunity for parents and their children to participate in an interactive performance she's hosting at the University of Maryland tomorrow. So, before we welcome our first guest, let's watch our digital news broadcast by Curtis Knowles.
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. Lisa Cook is the latest Biden administration nominee to break the glass ceiling, this time on the U.S. Federal Reserve Board. Cook, who is well known for her work on racial and gender equality, won Senate confirmation as the first Black woman to serve on the board in the agency's 109-year history. The history-making moment required a tie-breaking vote in the Senate from Vice President Kamala Harris. Michelle Holder, president of the Washington Center for Equitable Growth, commented on the confirmation saying, "The Fed board needs governors who understand how the economy works for Americans across race, gender, and class." Veteran Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who was 51, was shot dead in the West Bank on Wednesday as she reported on Israeli military raids in the city of Jenin. Her producer was also shot and is in stable condition. For 2.5 decades, she chronicled the suffering of Palestinians under Israeli occupation for tens of millions of Arab viewers. Her employer, Al Jazeera, described her death as a blatant murder by Israeli forces. 3 eyewitnesses told that journalists were shot by Israeli troops and that there were no Palestinian militants immediately near the journalists. Jivar Abuderi, a fellow Al Jazeera journalist, said, quote, "Shireen never shied away from covering any event. She never feared anything." Officials with the D.C. Fire and Emergency Medical Services Department announced Wednesday that it will hold its annual parade this Saturday after a 25-year hiatus, celebrating the department's 150 years of service and commemorating the firefighters who died while on duty since 1871. The parade will start at 11 a.m. and proceed from 7th Street Northwest to 14th Street Northwest, according to Deputy Fire Chief Anthony R. Callagher. The event will include an apparatus muster and a static display of both current and antique fire apparatuses that will be set alongside Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest for onlookers. Lisa Phillips, a widow of an African-American firefighter by the name of Anthony Sauce Phillips, said, quote, "We must remember those who gave their lives so that others can be safe." DC's first ever Vegetarian Restaurant Week will take place from May 7th through the 14th and will feature some of the district's most highly rated vegan and plant-based restaurants. Restaurants who plan to participate include fast casual hotspots like Plant Burger and Hip City Veggie, and fine dining spots including DC Harvest and Equinox. DC Shadow Representative Oye Owolewa and celebrity chef Spike Mendelsohn will co-chair the citywide event. According to Mayor Bowser's proclamation, which comes less than a year after DC's Green Food Purchasing Act, she says, quote, "A global shift towards plant-centric food norms will help lower greenhouse gas emissions."
Thank you so very much, Curtis. Fantastic. And yeah, I even got some news in that myself. The Vegetarian Restaurant Week, and looking forward to being out there with the firefighters. I know that a lot of younger folks are now joining. Are becoming firefighters in the District of Columbia, but we cannot forget the very strong history that we've had. So I'm glad that they will be out there, and we will be there as well, covering it, the Washington Informer. So I'm excited now to bring on Selena Hill, who is a deputy digital editor for Black Enterprise. Selena, welcome to WIN TV.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. It's so funny because again, I talked about back in the day when you used to throw those magazines on the table all over the place, and because there's not a print edition doesn't mean that Black Enterprise has gone anywhere. So let's talk about that transition and how, as you as deputy digital editor, that falls on you to make sure that we all can continue to get the great news.
Absolutely, Denise. And to your point, Black Enterprise is actually the leading Black media organization when it comes to web traffic. We average around 12 million unique views a month. So our readers are still just as engaged as they were 50 plus years ago when our founder, legendary business icon and owner, Earl Graves Sr., founded Black Enterprise in 1970. Now they are engaging with us on our virtual platforms and in a multimedia landscape, which includes social media as well as our website.
That's really good news for those of us who are in the print business, as you know, because we can look to Black Enterprise to see what the future will look like for those of us who know that we're going to eventually have to make that complete transition. And before we get into the Entrepreneur Summit, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of your background, Selena, as a deputy digital editor. I mean, what is it that you are responsible for there at Black Enterprise?
A number of things. That's almost like an umbrella term at this point.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so when I started my career 6 years ago at Black Enterprise, I was freelancing and writing, and then doing a lot of editing and managing our team of writers. And then I was there during the transition where we went from print to full digital. And if anyone is familiar with Black Enterprise, they know that we spearhead a number of events every year. We do 4 large scale events across the country. And I'm happy to talk about the Entrepreneur Summit because this is coming live and in person in next week, actually, in Philadelphia. So that's one of the projects that currently I'm spearheading and juggling. Other than that, I was heavily involved in launching our inaugural 40 under 40 list and summit last year, which also I'm excited to announce will be coming in person this year when we announce our awardees. Other than that, I think a main part of my job and one of the best parts outside of travel is just more so being that face and that connection for the new generation of Black business readers, owners, and those who are interested in entrepreneurship and generating wealth building. So I've been on the ground. I've hit the ground running since I started at Black Enterprise and making sure that I'm bridging the gap and that millennial audiences know that we are here to serve them and to empower them with resources, tools, and strategies they need to launch, scale, and grow their businesses.
And that's one of the things that we've seen, I think, really pronounced during this whole COVID pandemic has been, I don't know if we would call it a growth, more so than a more focused attention on millennial entrepreneurs. I mean, the creativity is just unbelievable. And it makes us proud to see that we've gone through this, what I call this renaissance of entrepreneurship within our community. So tell us about the summit and what folks what you have planned, and who the summit is actually directed to.
Absolutely. And Denise, to the point you just made about, growing in the pandemic, especially millennials who are very entrepreneurial in nature, myself, I've always juggled at least 3 projects at once in addition to, working full time at Black Enterprise, which included my independent podcast, working on local TV, working with different brands and organizations. And it's because we are in a new world where there are so many opportunities and people are going after these opportunities, whether on social media or just through a number of digital resources that are now made available to us that have almost leveled the playing field, especially when it comes to Black folks who we know are hustlers by nature, because we had to. We weren't, in the Jim Crow South, and historically, we just didn't have access to a number of resources and platforms. So we did it ourselves and we figured it out. And community was the backbone of who we are. And in that community, we know Black businesses thrive. But to your point about the Entrepreneur Summit, this is exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're
Right.
going to be talking about the tools, the resources that folks need so that they can continue to expand and grow. This is in addition to the insights and strategies that are going to be shared by a number of business leaders like Master P, like James Lindsay, the CEO of Rap Snacks, like Miss Diddy, who is a marketing guru based in LA, also known as the Queen of LA. Besides that, we're going to have opportunities to connect, to network with one another at our open reception, which is May 18th. And then at our wrap up after party, because we realize, like, after over 2 years in a pandemic, I think that we're pretty much itching to, get back live and in person. And we're going to do that to the best of our ability while still being safe and following protocols, which includes a mask mandate inside of the convention center.
Wonderful. And the other thing that I'm curious about, because there's corporate America, right? A lot of our millennials have products and services that they want to make available, to the masses. I mean, unfortunately, we as a community may not always say, "I'm going to buy black from black institutions, black owned businesses." We may still go to the mainstream, and I hate to use that word, but the other places to buy products, but then we still are conscious enough where we want to purchase our products in those places. We want to see them and see our products in those places. So talk about our, maybe your sponsors, your partners, who's working, who else is included in this summit, that might be that's supporting your work.
Yes, we are so grateful to a number of our sponsors, a number of corporations that have come on as sponsors. That includes our title sponsor, Nationwide, Walmart, McDonald's. The list goes on because we do have a variety of corporate partners who are helping to make this possible. And what this says to me is that they understand the power of the Black dollar and Black community. And we're so happy that they're showing up, not just in word or with a social media post, but in dollars, which is what Black media needs in order to survive.
Exactly. And then also for the entrepreneurs themselves, I'm just curious, the insurance companies are always looking for more, independent insurance sales representatives. The the Walmarts, again, making sure that they have Black buyers who will make sure that our products are on their shelves. Excuse me, McDonald's, making sure that we have owners of McDonald's outlets across the country. Is that part of going to be part of the conversation as well?
Yes, we do have representatives from a number of our sponsors who will be joining our panels to talk about things like procurement and how Black business owners can get a piece of the procurement pie, how they can become subcontractors for the government or prime contractors for the government, because there's a number of opportunities there. So we have sponsors from like FedEx and Nationwide on that panel who will be talking to our audience about how they can get that type of access.
So tell us how we can get involved. How can we participate?
I would belabor everyone to go to blackenterprise.com/ES 2022, the website that is in the lower thirds right now. Click on that and you can register there. And if you use the special code, you'll get complimentary registration. And I'll give you that code. It is ES 22. So that's 22. Now, NOW.
Great, great. And this kicks off when now?
This kicks off May 18th through
Okay.
May 20th, and it's happening at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited. I'm glad. I know you all are. Sometimes these virtual events can be pretty tough, but you're coming back in person again. Will it still be accessible virtually?
Yes, we will be live streaming, and any session that's not live streamed will be shared on our YouTube page.
But you'll still have to register, correct?
No, not for virtual access. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. Okie doke.
But I
Now,
mean, nothing beats live and in person.
I
So
know
I would tell people definitely come out.
it's a great networking opportunity. And I think millennials have, really know how to do that. And so that's a good thing. And then lastly, I mean, only because you said you're going to bring your 40 under 40 back again,
Yes,
a live event. You want to give us a sneak preview of when that's going to take place and how to look out for it?
fourth quarter. We're coming. I'm hoping to have that event here in New York, where we are based and headquartered. And yes, look out. The last list was so successful. We've honored folks from Issa Rae to Michael B. Jordan to John Henry. And we had folks speak at our virtual summit like Yara Shahidi. So we're so happy to bring that same energy live and in person later this year.
Thank you. Well, Selena, it's a pleasure to have you with us today and to share this information. Hope for a successful summit. I might try to sneak through myself. Hopefully, you have like a
Yay.
senior section over there so I can hang out
It
and get some
is.
tips from the millennials because, we love the way you all operate. So
Oh,
I'm
thank
looking
you.
forward to it. Yeah, yeah.
And it's intergenerational. It is everybody is welcomed and everybody will be there.
Thank you. Now I really feel welcome.
Good.
All right. Thanks a lot, and wish you much success. And feel free to come back and talk to us about other things that Black Enterprise is doing, or that you might be doing yourself. But we definitely want to support, our you know publications, and Black Enterprise is one of those that's really a part of the family. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you for
okay.
having me.
All righty. We're going to move on now to Dr. Shantella Sherman, who is Shantella. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so I don't have balloons. I really should have balloons and horns and all kinds of things, because first, I want to congratulate you for winning first and second place prizes for your MLK supplement last year, and the 2021 March Health supplement. You, among a couple of other of our staff, were honored by the Maryland, Delaware, DC Press Association this week. And I was going to try to get up to Baltimore this evening, but I don't think I'm going to make it, so that I actually get your certificate and share that with you. But as soon as we get that, I will do it. But congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Always honored. And what does Ron Burke say? Teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And it's the work that you do that brings you here today, because health, wellness, um, what we do is really important. And you do this quarterly supplement for the Washington Informer every year. Actually, we will be bringing on a new health writer. Is someone you recommended, so we'll be your team partner here. And so, looking forward to bringing her on in June. But anyway, let's talk about what you did this year.
Well, we decided we wanted to look at senior citizens and them not only growing older, but getting much older. So we wanted to examine the fact that, new statistics are showing that we are actually going to move into our 80s. The census has been tracking elderly populations, and by 2060, it is believed, it's projected that specifically African American men, their longevity is projected to go into their 80s. And so we needed to examine a number of things that just talked about quality of life, but did so in a way where we're not talking about African Americans as tragically Black. But all of the wonderful things that we're doing, where we're vibrant and we're lasting, this longevity thing is here to stay. So we need to talk about projections, not just from 40 to 60, but now 60s into wherever, 80s, 90s, 100s at this point. I'm losing you.
Lot going on here right now. But we used to talk about people in their 60s or 70s as really being old. Of course, as many of us have moved into that period, and we find out that people are living longer, healthier lives, and that's what's most important. And when you talk about Black men who were probably had the lowest lifespan as far as longevity is concerned, that's really good news, what you just shared. And so, is there anything that you or your article or your research can attribute to the increasing years?
I think it's strictly the grace of God, quite
Hmm.
honestly. There's nothing to it. There's nothing that says this is the rationale or the reasoning behind it. But that's also the reason why we're talking in terms of medically, some of the things that you may need to do. Because if you thought your life expectancy was 50 or 60, and now we've crossed past 50 and 60, what is it that we need to do to monitor our health, to stay active, to stay vibrant, to still engage the same way we did earlier? And this is the thing, Denise, we've been with each other now for more than 20 years. So I came into the Informer in my 30s. And so to think, okay, I keep thinking I still feel about 15 most of the time.
We're going to have the mental health segment in a little while.
I may need to stick around, but it's all in your mind. I think that that's really what it is. It's all in your head. So the fact of the matter is, when someone looks at me and they say, "What's your age?" and we always say, "Black doesn't crack." Okay, well, yeah, that may be true, but the reality is we're aging in place, and no one told us to stop doing the things that we continue to do. So many of the things you can attest to this, many of the things that you've always done, you still continue to do, and so we need to start addressing senior citizens and elders where they are. And if they're still going out dancing and they're still, their minds are still sharp and they're re-entering school in record numbers, then we need to address that in addition to some of the aches and pains, because those do show up as well.
Yeah, couple things. One, I know my dad always thought that the Social Security was inherently discriminatory because most Black people, particularly Black men, never lived old enough to get their Social Security. He was able to get his and died a year later, but at least he broke that record, you know. But he died at 67, you know,
Yeah.
so that would still, and right now that would be fairly young. And then we also know, and I don't know how your reporting looked at this, but I'm finding now older people are more health conscious. You know, so there are some changes. The food that they grew up on, that they teased us about because they say they raised us on it. Now they're no longer eating it, at least not to the degree that they used to. And if you go around to the senior wellness centers in the district and other places, or the local pools, you see older people swimming, walking. So they are making some lifestyle changes that are a little different. And I think I've heard a statistic once that said that, and I shouldn't throw out statistics that, and I don't know where it came from. But anyway,
Right.
you know, if a Black man can make it beyond the age of 30, because of, you know, the death rates of young people and what's happening on our streets, or it's some age like that, then normally they can live very long lives.
Right.
So I'm glad you did this issue. What else was there?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to make sure people understood historically is that when we talk about mortality and morbidity, it's there. You know, there are these health disparities, and that's not necessarily new. But what I did want to do is to put a little bit of a historical spin on it so you understand that when Franklin Roosevelt initially signed the Social Security Act in 1935, he excluded only two groups of people, or two occupations. And those were farmers and domestic workers, which made which was roughly 65 to 70% of the African American population at that time. The point with that is simply that we were never a part of the scheme. And so, because of that, we've always known how to live frugally, but efficiently. And then you actually had hyper white mob violence in some instances. So, you know, your stress levels were probably three times as much as they are now, but you still had Black men who were living into their 60s, 70s, and 80s then, when the projection was supposedly 30s and 40s. So we've been able to be as resilient as we've always been. And there are ways of, I've seen African Americans start small gardens, windowsill gardens. So some of this is going back to the things that their grandparents and great grandparents did. And now with seniors themselves, they're starting to understand why.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had a conversation. I think it was during Earth Day, and the fact that, you know, we were always connected to the land, always, you know, and we understood the weather and the land and the temperature, and you know, we didn't need things like this to tell us, you know, what was gonna happen. That's
Exactly.
that's why we were of such value to the growth of this country, because of our connectivity to the land. So it's interesting that, you know, your reporting points a lot of that out.
Yes. And just basic things that a lot of folks that we talked to said to do. Start doing in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. Go to bed on time. And that means when the sun starts going down, you start to unwind. And by 9 or 10 o'clock, you're in the bed, lights out, no gadgets. All right. Drink water. As much as you may hate water, your body is mostly water. And when you're dehydrated, it creates half of the health problems that you're actually facing. You need to flush out those kidneys, avoid dialysis. You need to make sure that your pancreas and your liver and all are functioning. You need water. And to keep hydrated and keep those headaches and rheumatoid arthritis and all these inflammation type concerns at bay, Water is the issue. So those two things I think were the immediate takeaways that I got from, I would say, 99% of the seniors that we spoke to. Go to bed, drink plenty of water.
Normally in your special issues, you also have a reading list.
Yes.
Anything you want to recommend?
I think all of them are just superb. What I would suggest, this time around for folks as we're going into the summer, if you have family reunions coming up or people at your church, engage with them. I think some of the histories that we need to know about longevity are right in front of us, but we never ask the seniors around us. Um, what gives them hope? We're talking about mental health. How do seniors who may have lived through, a pandemic before, other pandemics that we don't necessarily talk about, violence, depressions, all of these other things, what did they do? And so I think that there's histories that haven't been written yet. There are books that we haven't read yet because they just haven't been written. And I think it's important that we engage with our seniors as much as possible. So just talk to them.
Well, Dr. Sherman, I certainly do want to thank you for joining us. I'm flipping through it now. I'm seeing things like aging gracefully and vibrantly and healthy summer tips. I need to read that one. 8 great activities to strengthen your mind, your senior mind, and
Yes.
brain boosting foods. All of that I think is really, really great. And I'm just hoping, Chevry, if we can put another picture of the cover of the supplement up so that folks can see it. It's a great, great issue, and it certainly is inspiring to see all of what is included in this issue. And if you pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer, it's on the inside, so you may not find the issue out by itself, but you pick up this week's issue of the Informer, and it's inside. And also, you can visit us online at WashingtonInformer.com to get a copy of the health, wellness, and nutrition supplement. What's coming up, Dr. Sherman?
Home ownership supplement is coming up right around the corner. And I will be working with a number of team members to make sure that we give you all the good, fast, and lovely about home ownership. Make sure that you have curb appeal, but also that you're living in place and that you're getting the value out of your home.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for being with us.
Thank you.
We will talk to you again soon.
All righty.
All right. So we talked about physical health, we talked about aging, and this is Mental Health Month. And what pleasure I have to bring this dynamic duo to the show, Asoniti Foster and Wanda Whitaker, both individuals who are right in there talking about ways in which we can improve our health, our mental health, and all the things that we're doing, need to be doing. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
So I'll start with you, Asoniti. Can you tell us about your background and the work that you do?
Yes, so I am the founder of Puzzle 2020, and I specialize in mental wellness and Alzheimer's advocacy.
Wonderful. And Wanda?
I am a visionary artist, a certified hypnotherapist, and a transformational coach.
Wonderful. Now, how does all this tie into, uh, as you said, Alzheimer's or dementia? I mean, this is a growing well, I say it's growing because we're hearing so much more about it now that we have the what is it, the silver alerts and all the things that bring our attention to what's happening with our seniors. But how is it you all kind of stepped into this space and got involved?
For me,
Okay.
it started off very personal. Like most people who are advocates of Alzheimer's, it's personal. My grandmother's died with a plethora of great aunts and uncles, and my grandfather was recently diagnosed within 2020, and I'm his caregiver. So I grew up with Alzheimer's. And at the time, it was just like, oh, they're old, right? This is natural. This is what's supposed to happen. And then one day I received a call from a cousin of mine asking me if I would help him with his mom, who was my grandmother's sister. She has Alzheimer's. I'm like, last time I saw her, she was fine. But she definitely had Alzheimer's. And I loved spending time with her. Like something about that was magical, like at that
Hmm.
moment. But it also was a time to like, the more she repeated herself, the more I kept listening. And I was like,
oh my God, I can have this, right? Because it's in my family tree. It's rooted in
Yeah.
my DNA, right? So I could definitely have, this could pass on to my daughter. Like this can continue to keep going. And so for me, it was like, oh, no, 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 no. Let me research this and let me see what's going on with this disease. And what I discovered was that women were more likely to have it than men. African American women are twice as likely to have it than the national average. And yes, I can get Alzheimer's, but hereditary is a risk factor. It's not the risk factor. So from discovering just now this wealth of information that I had to go find myself, right? They're not teaching us this. They're not really talking about this. It was like, well, I got to do something about this because we really need to be talking about this in the community and culture. We are the ones most affected. And so I decided to do a documentary on Alzheimer's titled Puzzled, because this is such a puzzling disease. And the focus is definitely on African American women, but I'm also telling it from a youthful point of view with incorporating my daughter. Because what people need to realize the most about this disease is that by the time you've been diagnosed over the age of 65, you really started that track 20, 30 years prior, medically proven. So why are we talking about this when we retire?
Wow, interesting. And Wanda, how do you loop into this?
Well, I am a mental health specialist. I started my practice a while back because I wanted to really help people heal themselves by themselves. And I really started on this track of knowing who I am, why am I here. And once I started studying that and answering those questions, I said, well, what do I really want to do in life? And I wanted to help people heal themselves. And so that's how I started with this hypnosis and my practice. And what I found out from there is how hypnotherapy can help people throughout life with mental illness and specifically even Alzheimer's, because it relaxes the mind, it eliminates stress. It also changes programming and helps with trauma. All of those types of things have a lot to do with our physical health. So, mental health, they say our body speaks our subconscious mind. And so, when something is hurting in the body is telling you something. Memory is one of those things that affects almost every part of our body, because you've heard of the saying, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Well, the brain is also in your heart and also in your gut because of the nervous system. They found out that basically the memory extends into your heart and also your gut. That's why people say I had a gut feeling that I shouldn't do this or shouldn't do that. And that is because there are these peptides that are on top of the neurons that are always communicating with each other. And that's why sometimes when you have like, people sometimes have heart transplants. And when they have a heart transplant from another person, they take on that personality of that donor because of the memory of the cells. So with hypnosis and meditating, calming down your brain, so that you can go into the subconscious mind to change the programming, is one of the ways that we can help heal ourselves. And it's easy
Interesting.
to do.
Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting because I'm not sure how Asante is really processing this as well, but you all have connected. And Asante, you talk about, of course, Puzzle 2020, and then the sandwich giver, which I kind of want to know what that's all about, and then the gratitude bank. I mean, you all have put together some unique concepts to address this issue. So can I go back to you, Asante, and really find out what these are?
Absolutely. So, in discovering that you can be on the Alzheimer's track in your 20s or 30s, for me, I looked at it like, okay, we're getting ahead of how Alzheimer's. Like, let's completely derail this. We're talking about mental health, which is great. Therapy is great. Medication, if you need it and that's your, level of cocktail for you, great. But what about those of us who don't have those or can't afford those or don't have real medical coverage, right? What are we left with? Even people who actually go to therapy, you're only with that therapist, what, 1 hour once a week at the most? Yes, you vent everything and you have this esoteric conversation about, your venting and what's going on in life. You dump all of that, but okay, that was on Monday. It's Wednesday, and this has crept back up because I'm still experiencing it. Right? It's still within me until it's not. And so for me, it was important to say, okay, well, what can you do that's effective, easy, and affordable? And that's when my daughter and I created the gratitude bank. And it definitely first started with us. We were definitely on an Alzheimer's track, trauma, financial hardships, the pandemic hit. Now stress, depression, anxiety is with us. And when I saw us sinking in our household, I was like, let me Google mental happiness because we cannot go out like this. And that's when I discovered that writing down what you're grateful for, even if it's just one word, one positive word, whatever it is that you're grateful for, significantly reduces stress, depression, anxiety. Well, who suffers the most from those things? Right?
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no way, this can't be real, because if it was, we would be talking about it, right? Yeah, right. And so practiced it with my daughter about, let's say 30 days, because it's slow, right? You have to get into the habit of doing this.
Hmm.
And we really saw a difference in everything about us.
So what were you doing? Were you just taking like little notes or something and putting it into a bank, or how did it work?
So
Explain that to me.
this is the gratitude bank here.
Okay.
And this is one style we have. I don't know if you can see this.
Okay.
And I am grateful for it. It has these cards right here.
Okay.
Each of them say I'm grateful for. And then it comes with this pen with a stylus. And I tell people use these like medication, right? When you pop in a pill, it's 60 in here, right? You got a 60-day supply. Or you can,
Right.
take it as how
Hmm.
often you want, but just write down something. And once you write it down on here, you fold it and then you place it into the slit in the lid. And then we didn't want to stop there, right? Because now we're like, okay, this is working. We want optimal mental support from the comfort of your home. And
Hmm.
that's when we applied meditation music to this, because that helps with, centering the mind, calming you down, lifting your spirits, and still you're able to have a functioning day.
Wow. Wow. And Wanda, I mean, this seems like it feeds right into uh, one sort of getting you through hypnotherapy to kind of get you into that place and space, because sometimes we don't even know what a gratitude is. A feeling, right? It's not just a word. It's a feeling. And so it seems like your hypnotherapy kind of puts you in that place where you can actually understand what you're looking to feel. you know
Oh, absolutely.
is that tell me if I'm right or wrong, I don't know.
Well, yes, you are right about that. Again, with hypnosis, which means to sleep in Greek,
Hmm.
that's what it means to sleep. It involves slowing down the brain waves in your mind. When you're sleeping, they call that delta, and then just before you go to sleep is a stage called theta, where you kind of falling into sleep, and then there's alpha, which is still a meditative state. You cannot start changing the programming in your subconscious mind, which is running you about 95% of the time. That's what's running you. That's like when you drive in a car and you miss your exit to the freeway. Well, who's driving that car? Or you're reading a great book and somebody asks you to do something. You don't hear them because you're into that book where it's being run by your subconscious mind. Just like you don't ask your heart to beat, right? But it beats. You don't ask your cells to divide, but they do. They reproduce.
Right.
So there is some information that's going on that's within you that's helping you do that. A lot has to do with your nervous system. Okay, so we go back to physiology when we talk about hypnosis. But once you slow down those brain waves, then you can have entrance into the subconscious mind where all the programming, the data is there. It's like a computer that's running. And when you change that programming, because a lot affects you from your childhood, especially from the ages of 0 to 7, what's in your environment, what your mother is saying to you, all of that is being stored there. If your dad is coming home drunk and beating your mom, all that information is stored there. So how can you change that? The only way you can change it is through that. And we have suggestions that we put into the subconscious mind, positive suggestions to change the negative ones that are helping you have the limited beliefs that are causing you to have certain kinds of behavior.
Ladies, I really, really wish we had time to really just kind of explore all of this because it does sound very helpful. It's intriguing. And, just the conversation is mind settling. So I think that's great. Asante, what can you share with us about, the Gratitude Bank or how folks can get in touch with you if they want to know more about what you're offering? And I want to ask you the same thing, Wanda.
So I can be found on social media at Puzzle 2020. That's Facebook and Instagram. Our website is puzzle2020.com. You can go to our shop and you'll be able to purchase our gratitude banks. That was one style of bank that we have, but we do have different, another color and another style. And then also on our website we also provide resources, right, for mental wellness and Alzheimer's. We didn't want people to just come on our page, on our site, and the first thing that pops up is a donation. Not knocking people who do that, but when you are a sandwich caregiver like myself and you start wanting to find information, I'm not looking to donate right now. I'll come back to you, but right now I need to figure out what this is. There's always a state of emergency for us. So we are your, one-stop shop to calm down. We got you. We looking out. Here's some resources and here's some tools.
Fantastic. And now, because I asked you about the the sandwich giver, and you just explained it. You've got a young daughter, and you're taking care of older folks. Your mom or
my grandfather.
Your grandfather, right? Exactly. So you're right there in the middle, the sandwich giver. I get it.
Sandwich caregiver.
Right. Okay, caregiver. That's the word we're missing. Thank you, Wanda. What about you?
You can reach me. You can go to my website at www.anchoredinspirit.com. And of course, my email address is anchoredinspirit@gmail.com. If you go to the website, there's a lot of information there. Also, you can download a free meditation. It's a chakra meditation. And I'm going to go back to the meditation that is on the Gratitude Bank. It's at 432 hertz. And 432 hertz is called the frequency of the universe. And that's where you can become very stable mentally, and it creates balance. And researchers have determined that is the hertz of the heart.
Wow.
So listen to some Mozart music too.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and for giving us some things to think about as it relates both to aging and to mental health. We really appreciate the work that you all are doing and how you're trying to support members of our community. I think we want to show one last thing, Ashanti, before we leave, but I want to thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, shall we?
This is a gratitude bank. It is scientifically proven to reduce stress, reduce anxiety, reduce depression, improve sleep habits, improve physical activity, and improve your memory. It's great for all ages and super easy to use. Open the lid, remove cards and pen, write down what you're grateful for, and fold the card in half and place it in the slit in the lid. It also has meditation music. Simply scan the QR code and press play. Depression is living in the past. Anxiety is living in the future. Gratitude is living in the present. What are you grateful for? Get yours today.
All right, that is fantastic. And I want to again thank both of them for being with us and giving us some answers to some of the questions and issues that we know so many of us are dealing with right now. So we've got a lot of caregivers out there, sandwich caregivers. I meet people all the time. I've been in that situation. So I thank them for their information and support. We're going to go to Cassandra Hill, who's an educator and storyteller. Cassandra, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. This is a great program.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's because of folks like you that are doing so much in the community and really helping to share all of that with us. Tell us, so you've got a program that's going on this weekend, and we want to make sure people know about it. What's going on?
Well, I am going to be doing a live taping and performance. I am a children's book author and an artistic performer for Arts for Learning Maryland. And this particular performance is going to be at the um, University of Maryland's Nimburu Cultural Center. I want to make sure I say that correctly. From 2 to 4 tomorrow. So it is right around the corner. I'm highlighting my children's book, It's Your Birthday, Cheyenne, wherein we teach children how to say happy birthday in 8 different languages.
Wow. Okay.
They learn cultural traditions. They learn geographical representations. They will see visual art in the form of cultural flags. So it's quite an interactive presentation that I do and that I've been doing over the years.
So, what inspired you to share languages, different languages, with regards to Happy Birthday? What was your inspiration?
My inspiration truly was Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and John Lewis. And if you listen to all of them and they talk about race equity and teaching children the importance of their heritage, they always ask, what is it that you're going to do and how are you going to be a part? And this is my something, to have children learn about race equity and to not be fearful of other cultures. And so I think that's extremely important. But how do you give that very difficult information to children? You have to make it palatable to children. And one of the ways that I did that was I chose a commonality that all children can relate to, which is a birthday. And I don't care, how old you are, whether you're 5 or you're 55 or you're 85, everybody wants to be remembered for their birthday. And so if we just start there and look at the commonality of each other, we can learn a lot about each other. I want children to be intrigued about each other. I don't want them to be fearful at all, because there's no sense in fear.
And so, are they going to look at Cassandra Hill as what kind of character, or is there a character in the book, or?
The main character is Cheyenne.
Okay.
And Cheyenne is this mystical Egyptian cat. And so children get to learn about Africa. She is from the days of Pharaoh, when they had the cat goddess Bastet. And they adorned the cats with this jewelry. So she's this little wily cat with African jewelry, and she's got this little fish in the middle of her corset. And so she is extremely excited to have all of the kids coming over to help her celebrate her birthday. One of the things that Arts for Learning did, they knew me as an author, but for them, they want a storyteller. So they requested that I basically turn it into a one-woman show and present all of the characters as I'm acting, as opposed to reading to kids. So the show has changed in that sense.
And what age group are you targeting?
Kindergarten through 7th grade. It used to be kindergarten through 3rd grade, but over the years, a lot of schools would ask me to present to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And I thought, oh, well, maybe they won't like it. But having done so many times, they enjoyed it just as much, which gave me joy, and so I just increased the age group. Yeah, so
Wonderful.
7th grade.
And so what time is this tomorrow?
2 to 4.
Okay, 2 to 4 at University of Maryland. The
Nimburu Cultural Center.
Okay. All
And
right. And is there, go ahead.
tonight I will be with Vice Chair Sidney Harrison. He's going to be at the Southern Aquatic Center in Brandywine, Maryland. I'll be there from 6 to 9. They asked me to, invite their guests to my show tomorrow as well, at their community event. So it's just really, inviting to all those little ones that want to come and their families.
So it's sadly, we're having this conversation today, and this program is tomorrow, and some people may not see this program until, next week. So,
Yes.
are there any other opportunities to have children experience the play?
Yes, I am. I was told I'm going to be at another school on the 23rd. I'll have to put it on my social media. My IG is Cassandra Hill, author and SLP. And I will be doing many more shows. As a matter of fact, if teachers and principals want to request that I come to their school and perform for them, they can get directly in contact with Arts for Learning Maryland and request Cassandra Hill, the storyteller. So yes.
That is fantastic. And we have we posted your website as well, so folks can reach out and look at other opportunities. We hope that you have a great program tomorrow, however.
Thank
and
you.
We hope that folks will bring their little ones out there. Now that we can get out, and kids need to get out and see what's happening in the world. So this sounds like a great opportunity for the entire family.
Yeah.
So we thank
We're
you so
keeping
very
it
much.
safe. We're keeping it safe.
Good.
We're having masks and it's going to be a safe environment in the state of COVID. So we're very conscious about that as
Wonderful.
well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for waiting and patiently waiting for this opportunity to tell us your great story. And we look forward to learning more about what is the character's name again?
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne. Yes. Hear
Yes.
more
It's
about
Your Birthday,
Cheyenne.
Cheyenne is the name of the book. Here's a copy of the book.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. I kind of feel like Cheyenne's going to have other things besides birthdays. I kind of feel like Cheyenne has a life of
Outside
that's
of
going to
that.
expand. Yeah, I'm waiting to hear more about Cheyenne.
Amen. We'll bring it to you.
All right. Thank you, Cassandra. So that brings us to the end of another edition of Win TV. We want to shout out our graduates one more time. We want to make sure you share our post on Facebook and Twitter. Send us an email if you have some ideas about topics you think we should talk about here. Send it to news@washingtoninformer.com. I want you to have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week when we will run our conversation with Kemba Smith Pradia. I think you all may remember Kemba Smith and her story, but if you don't, make sure you watch because we'll have an interesting conversation with her and update on what she's been doing. I think that's it. So now we're going to go to what's going on in DC with the media prints, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
It's Friday, so you know what time it is, folks. Let's go.
We bring you culture and taste, art and entertainment. We bring you history and politics. And we got all things DC. I even got you covered, Maryland and Virginia. Welcome to What's Going On, DC.
I'm your boy, the Media Prince. First off, I look snazzy, you hear me? Let's start off with politics. Hey, guess what? DC is open. Thanks, Mayor Bowser. Take a look.
DC is open! DC is open.
DC is open.
DC is open.
DC is open. DC is open.
The White House makes history with its first Black and queer White House press secretary.
First, as you all know, she will be the first Black woman, the first out LGBTQ plus person to serve in this role, which is amazing because representation matters, and she is going to she will give a voice to so many and allow and show so many what is truly possible when you work hard and dream big, and that matters, and we should celebrate that.
In general news, Metro's board of directors has announced its next general manager, Randy Clark from Austin, Texas. Teenagers can now work out for free at Planet Fitness locations in Montgomery County, Maryland. Our girl Trap Bob does it again. She got to design for the National Gallery of Art. In sports, the Mystics are winning and soaring, living their best lives. Take a look. Chris Pirate and the Washington Wizards. Take a look. In entertainment, congratulations to our girls Tracy Jade and Taraji P. Henson on their 2 Daytime Emmy nominations for their show, Peace of Mind with Taraji. And while on the subject of Taraji, she is also the host of the BET Awards this year. Hey, BET loves the DMV, I see. DC's own Regina Hall named one of People magazine's most beautiful people. Take a look.
You know, humor's pretty incredible because even the darkest moments have something funny, you know, that you can at least look back and laugh at or find familiar. And so when I watch movies that are like, oh my goodness, that same, or shows, I've been there, I know that, I've done that. I don't know, it makes you see how connected and related we all are. It's a gift when you think about how much human beings need laughter and a reminder that there just must in order, I mean, life is really challenging, right? So without some levity, it's hard, and you kind of have to find that in your own existence, and then it's good to find that in things you read, things you watch, you know, the friends you surround yourself with who make you laugh, and remind you not to take it all so serious.
Here's an extended trailer for Love and Marriage DC, starring Monique Samuels, DJ Quicksilver, and Jamie Tyler. I'm already claiming Ashley as the fan favorite. Okay, tune in tomorrow.
I'm back and better than ever. Formerly of the Real Housewives of Potomac, that other show. So when you come to DC, it is amazing, and I'm just so proud of where we've come. Girl, I got a custom outfit made. I'm ready.
DC, amazing views, historical buildings, just totally different. It's fast paced.
There's no city like DC when it comes to parties.
DC all the way, style, everything is DC, baby.
So, rewind.
DMV's own Corday is coming to Europe. That's actually pretty freaking epic. Scotty Beam says this. Hey Mo. Hey DMV ladies, get ready to give 3 Black some brownie points. Take a look.
I like DMV females. Like when you on the road for so long with these bougie little, they be bad, they look good, but when I get home, I just want to hit Miss Joan or something. Like, I love it. Call me Mo. Oh my God.
Let's head outside. What's going on DC was in the building this past weekend at Broccoli City Festival. Take a look at everything you missed and see you next year. And also make sure to check out my write-up on the festival at themediapress.com, featuring photography from Capital Concepts Media. Let's end things off with what's happening around town. As you saw, Wale brought out everyone. Here is the official motto. We are standing by DMV. Anybody need a house? Anybody? Well, all you need is $1 million. Check out Denny's in Laurel, Maryland.
Yo, check this out. This is how they're serving the food at Denny's.
Please take your food.
Shout out to Black Girl Things. Here's a list of things to do this weekend. If you're touring here or you just want to get outside. Also, the Love and Merge DC party is tonight. Come out and party. I'll be there. You should too. Lastly, DC youth ages 15 to 18 years old, the Academy DC is offering free recording sessions on Monday and Wednesdays at the Department of Youth Rehabilitation from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Follow them now on Instagram at the Academy DC for more details. Well, folks, ain't nothing changed. I need a nap. I'm partying with Quicksilver later. He built for it. I'm not. So a nap, here I come. Oh, yeah. We out. Oh, I love you for watching. Peace.